Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us in this special edition of the education of the EduCeleb broadcast, focused specifically to celebrate the Children's Day holding today, the 27th May 2020. And as many of you are already aware, this afternoon we'll be looking into parenting and child protection. And to discuss that with us are two guests. First, we have Mrs. Wendy Ologe. Mrs. Wendy Ologe is the founder of the Intentional Parent. She'll be joining us in this conversation. For many of us, those that don't know her, she's an expert in parenting, and she has been doing that for years now. And we'll be learning a lot from her today. We're also joined by Mr. Abdulrazak Afeez. Mr. Abdulrazak Afeez is a lecturer in the Department of Arts and Social Sciences Education at the University of Lagos. He's a specialist in early childhood education. The duo would, would join us as we carry on with this conversation for now. Later on, we'll be having other people join us. But for now, these are the two guests we have with us. Good afternoon, Miss Ologe. Good afternoon, Miss Ologe. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Good
All right.
afternoon. Thank you
Good
for having
afternoon.
me
Welcome.
here.
I'm Mr. Abdulrazak. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me too.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll be starting with this question for you too. So, but Miss Ologe will go on with the response first. What is what can we describe as parenting today? If you were to describe parenting today, what is parenting today? Go ahead, madam.
Sorry, you want a description of parenting today or parenting
Yes,
as a whole, as the term is?
and as a whole, and as what we can describe as parenting in the 21st century.
Okay, so parenting basically is, I say in my words, it means to raise another God. So I'm going to be taking a cue from my own holy scriptures. The Bible says that we are gods. So for me, parenting means raising another God. And it means that you are a gardener trying to nurture that person that is supposed to be like a grass. So you are a nurturer, you are raising another God, and you are that person who is putting out there someone else who is going to become the next adult. Parenting in the 21st century simply says that you need, parenting in the 21st century says that you need to be hands-on. So it's not like what we used to know. It is so different. There's a lot of things that are different. One of the major things I like to mention to start with is that our children are playing on a global ground. We didn't play on a global ground. I hope that helps. I can't see Mr. I can't see the just the lab here. I'm hoping that he's back so soon.
So much. Thank you for that. So, Mr. Akonji, please add to that. Mr. Akonji.
Yeah, thank you. I want to appreciate the words of Mrs. Ologe. She is an expert, and I have been following her for a number of years. So basically, to corroborate a point, parenting is basically all forms of action that you put forth in molding a child, in nurturing a child, and ensuring adequate care and concern toward the child for us to have an amazing adult and have a prosperous environment. Parenting in the 21st century is multidimensional. You'll understand that we now have the work between multiple parties. We have the work between the parent and the social worker. Unlike before, that the father and the mother will take adequate responsibility the exposure of the mother, the exposure of the father, the need for them to be away has demystified different procedures in having different people come into parenting. So parenting is an all-encompassing work whereby you don't have the parent to be the only one to take adequate care of the child anymore. You could only have them to be the people responsible biologically. They might not even be the one responsible for adequate provision of the child. So parenting in 24th century is a way or is against what used to be the traditional means of parenting. And it's quite beautiful because it makes the work easier. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So my colleague is here with me that will be carrying on with this conversation as we proceed. Is Ahmed Iyada. Hello, Ahmed. Hello, Ahmed. Anyway, we'll bring him. He will be joining us later on. I don't know what's going on at the end. Anyway, going back to Mrs. Ologe, where do we draw the line between child protection? Okay, first let's talk about child protection. What exactly is child protection? And then you help us understand where we draw the
When you
line
say
between.
child
Yes,
protection is
proceed, proceed, madam.
yeah. Go ahead. Let me finish your question so that I can talk at once.
Okay, I said that what is child protection? You help us understand what child protection is, and then we'll talk about where do we draw the line between child protection and child abuse?
Okay. All right. I like the way is going. Interestingly, I'm a very avid campaigner of the fact that a lot of things that we do to children actually tend towards abuse and not just discipline. Now, when we talk about child protection, one of the major things that we must bear in mind is that it's the duty of the parent to actually protect the child. Child protection is encompassing protecting the child, when it comes to the child's mental health, protecting the child when it comes to the child's physical health, protecting the child when it comes to the child, everything that has to do with the well-being of the child. I'm like the last speaker said, everything it encompasses everything about the child. Now, where do we begin to draw the line between abuse and protection? Let me say this. The truth is, when it comes to abuse and protection, I always say that there are two things: ignorance and forgetfulness have the same consequences. So when you say, where do we draw the line between protection and abuse? Sometimes when you are actually doing overprotective, that might actually become abusive. Now, there's a broad definition of what abuse is. Neglect is part of abuse. Doing the things that your child ought to do per time and you are actually getting in to save them in quote, it can actually be seen as abuse. So there is a point where you get to and you become so overprotective and then you begin to actually abuse the child. I know that many of the things that we say or we see is that abuse, in the negative, the way we said. So abuse is also like, in being in the negative, is also likened to child neglect. It's also likened to the things that the child, ought to do that you find yourself part of abuse. So we need to also look at it from that two angles. And then protectiveness can also mean discipline. In our homes, where we are saying that, oh, I'm protecting the child from doing so and so, I'm becoming a better version of them and all that. Sometimes in doing that also we go overboard. Then we also begin to get into the space where we become a bit abusive as well. So when it comes to abuse, there's goes through a different spectrum. I say that in my book, The Discipline That Works, I said that when it comes to discipline, you will need that brings down the child, that drops the child off their self-esteem, that makes the child become who they shouldn't be, turns to abuse, really. So the definition, if we're not careful and if we lack knowledge of exactly what it is that we need to do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, Mr. Afeez, I'm waiting for him to appear back. Okay. Welcome back. Mr. Afeez, I would like you to add more to that. It appears that the network. Mr. Afeez, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay, Mr. Amo, I was actually waiting for your permission. When you talk about child protection, you'd understand that a child is meant to develop adequately and optimally. A child is going to develop socially, a child is going to develop physically, a child should develop intellectually. We also expect a child to develop emotionally and creatively. Now, the fact that you help this child to develop adequately in all these folds is going to be that you are protecting the child adequately. Now, the absence of protection will lead to abuse, and the absence of protection is going to lead to the fact that you are not doing your work adequately. Incontrovertibly, you cannot divulge abuse away from the 21st century because the children are exposed to things even beyond the knowledge of the parent. But there is always a way to draw the curtain whereby you are very responsible and adequately responsible for the child. When you neglect your child, is that you are not protecting the child. So when you talk about protection, protection itself is what it means. Protecting the child away from neglect, protecting the child away from being shot, protecting the child away from sexual abuse, protecting the child away from physical abuse, protecting the child away from emotional abuse, which is what the first speaker actually made mention when you talk about the issue of mental health. So parents need to understand that you protect a child when you allow him to develop adequately. And I've been able to mention the means at which a child is going to develop. We can actually take a lesson from that, developing socially, intellectually, physically, emotionally, creatively, in fact, in language, among other things. So, in helping the child attain the lofty position or to attain adequately the development in all these folds is that you are protecting the child. But don't forget that if you are not present, the child is going to indisputably experience abuse. And the fourth speaker has actually made mention of the fact that some parents are overprotective, and overprotectiveness is going to make the child not elated, not happy, not excited, and that is also a form of abuse. It is not until you beat a child that you are abusing him, and it is not when you are always there to talk to him, to watch him over and over, and that's why you are protecting him. No, we need to understand the child. The best means to protect a child is to understand the child. So, as you have said, we have a clear, a kind of relationship between protection and abuse. One can lead to the other, and not doing one can actually extend to the other. Therefore, we need to make parents understand that if you are going to use the traditional means of parenting that our parents used, you might be abusing the child. And if you want to be as overprotective as you think you should be, the environment is not in line with what used to be in the past. So the best way to protect your child is to understand the child,
Okay.
and the best means not to abuse your child is to understand the child. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Salam. Oh,
Mr. Hafiz, so in line with what you just said now, how do we now ensure discipline? How do we ensure discipline? How do we ensure that children don't get the what don't get to what we don't want them to get to? I mean, in terms of the negative side of life, we want to strengthen them up. How do we ensure that we're able to achieve that?
well, you see, discipline is what it is, and it is the way you should understand it. What do I mean? You should understand that if you have 4 children, discipline is going to be different. Because one thing you need to understand is the personality trait of a child. For example, if you have a child that is a sanguine, that likes to talk, that likes to interact, and you want to discipline him, you cannot discipline a child that is always up and down. You cannot discipline the way you're going to discipline a gentle child. What I'm going to talk about in essence is the fact that understanding your child. Children, what they understand, what I understand about children is that they have their characteristics. One of their characteristics is they have this ego, they are adventurous. They want to try something, and when they try it and they realize that you are not talking, they just continue it, and they are trying to learn through imitation. So my advice is that, or what I'm going to say is that the best way to discipline your child is that be careful of what you do in front of them, because the best means for them to learn is via imitation. So you might have little or nothing to do when you model the right way, when you are an adequate example and you are exemplary example for them. So you might not have to do much. But when you now realize that they are trying to bring about certain behavior, you just have to understand the environment. Have they moved from the home environment to the school environment? What has changed? Who are they interacting with? But unfortunately, Mr. Amo, parents are not even available at present to understand this. Okay, if I'm going to post this further, you will understand that in this present situation, a lot of problem emanated as a result of the fact that parents are not able to understand
Mr.
the
Akonji,
impact
there been some break, so we'll bring you back later. So, Miss Ologe, I want you to respond to this question we have here from Mr. Rashid Rasaki. He's asking that how do we make children don't get over pampered even while trying to protect them?
That's a very interesting question, because that's part of what I was saying, that even that you are over pampering your children is also can be termed as abuse. Now let me talk a bit about that. When you say what can you do to bridge that gap, one of the things that I say is you need to gain the adequate knowledge that is required. One of the things that I say is that parenting is learned. You need to understand that when it comes to parenting, you need to learn what is required to be able to raise a child per time. There was something that the other speaker was talking about as regards discipline, and he said something very critical. He said, you cannot discipline a child same way. What it means is that for each child, there's a disciplinary strategy that works. Not everything works for everybody. So there's no one size fit it all for every child. You need to be able to understand who you are parenting. And if you want to be able to actually get into the bridge, between over pampering your child and then, which now gets to the point of being abusive, you need to learn what is required. Do you have the required tools to be able to do what it is that you need to do, for the child? Because there is a very thin line between saying, I want my child to do well, and I am going to abuse my child. Very thin line. Very thin line. On the both spectrum, both on the parent who is saying, I'm not going to, instill discipline, and the parents who is saying, I'm going to instill discipline, there's always a thin line without knowledge. And the moment you do not know what to do, you find out that you sleep. And the moment you do, it flips into abuse. Many times many people say that, oh, why are we talking about abuse in the 21st century? I like to say that we are being culturally unintelligent if we insist that we're going to raise children the way we were raised. The reason being that the culture the children have now is not the culture that we had. The truth remains that we played at a local stage. Our children are playing at a global stage. What they are exposed to is a global blueprint. We didn't have that. So that means we need to learn something differently to be able to actually raise a child that lives in this century. It means that whatever it is that we are doing in this journey means that we need to get knowledge. The place of knowledge can never be overemphasized. I tell my own audience that knowledge is the only difference between raising the child who turns out well, in quote, and the one who doesn't. Because when you get knowledge, that's what distinguishes you and that other person who is just doing it, parenting by assumption. So never assume parenting. You need to learn it. You need to understand what it is that it takes. For instance, I go from the point of understanding who your child is. If you have a kinesthetic learner child, dominantly kinesthetic, and you have an auditory child, you need to understand that the two children are two different people. They learn differently. Now, discipline is teaching. If your disciplining method is not teaching your child, then you need to do something differently. If your child doesn't learn anything from the way you discipline them, then there's a problem. If you continue to do same thing that you have been doing and nothing has changed, then you need to change your strategy today. So, sir, what you need to do is to learn, is to get the required knowledge to parent that particular child. I might not be able to give you a blanket response on that because I don't know your child. I don't know his personality. I don't know his temperament. I don't know how he learns. If I do, then I'll be able to provide a solution for you as regards the strategies that you'll be able to build around the child. Thank you. Okay, so I'm hoping that this has me just here. I don't know where the where Edu Celeb had gone. Maybe he's been booted out by the network. So we're waiting for him to come back online.
So sorry about that. There was a little network malfunction here. Ahmed, discipline, and why without diminishing the essence of without diminishing the what we regard as without getting to child abuse. How do we ensure that we're able to maintain discipline,
Sorry, I didn't get your
madam?
question. It was shaking, so you need to read that again. I'm not sure I heard all the question that was asked, but I know that I heard something like how do we put a strategy to be able to, I don't know, I didn't get that so well. Please, can you repeat
I
your
said,
question?
okay. How do we ensure that we're able to maintain discipline while not getting into abuse?
Oh, yes. Okay, so how do we ensure that we maintain discipline without getting into abuse? You need to
Yes.
understand exactly what discipline means. Like I said while I was talking before, discipline is about teaching. If your method, any method you're using, I don't want us to have a conversation, an argument on what discipline tools to use or not. Whatever disciplinary method you decide to use, number one, you must ensure that that discipline method it's not bringing down your child's self-esteem. You must ensure that that discipline method it's not inflicting physical pain in your child. You must ensure that that discipline method is teaching your child what to do, not just what not to do. You must ensure that that discipline method is a strategy that can actually be looked into and broken down, and the child will understand the essence There's a goal in front of you before you actually you are able to use that disciplinary strategy.
Alright. Thank you very much. Thank you. So bringing back Mr. Akonji. So add
Yeah.
more to that.
Okay. Basically, I think that it is important the parent themselves understand the kind of parent they are. And when we talk about parenting, it's going to be a problem if the parent themselves don't understand the kind of parenting approach they are using. So if they don't know, just like we have the first speaker made mention of the value of knowledge, there is going to be a whole lot of problem. Number one, the parent themselves need to evaluate themselves to know the kind of parenting style they are using. Are they even authoritarian or they are not even engaging at all? When they understand that, I think there won't be any problem. And the second one is the value of knowledge. Now you now need to also understand the place of presence. If we are not present, you won't be able to understand all these things we are talking about. Now, this situation has made us understand that the absence of many parents is also an abuse to children, because when you don't have time for them, when you come and they exhibit a kind of action, you don't understand how to demystify procedures in helping them, and that is also an abuse. So in over pampering your children, don't underestimate the fact that children will continue to remain children, and don't try to pretend as if they are adults, but be careful that once they do things today, they do things tomorrow, and you are not there to look at them. They feel that what they are doing is normal. And you also have to be a model of what you want to be. So three things are important. Evaluate the kind of parenting strategy you're using. Understand that it is knowledge based to be a parent, and it is sequential. You cannot use the past parenting strategy for this present situation. And the third one is presence. You have to be present to understand and observe the kind of attitude or actions your children are exhibiting. And that is the only way you will be able. Finally, you also need to learn to talk to your own children. There was a research I did some times ago with children. Some were beaten and some were being talked to. In the long run, they are of the same age, because you also need to understand age appropriate discipline approach. So if you're talking to a child of 3 year old, he or she understand, and this child we have been talking to is going to feel bad than the one we are beating. So number one, evaluate the kind of parenting strategy you are using. Number two, get the knowledge. Number three, your presence. And number four is that let them imitate you, because you are going to be the one they are imitating. So be an example. Thank you so much.
So I'll just ask you another question in that line. How do we have parents that are always distant from their
I hope
children?
you get that, Mr.
So,
Mo.
okay, I said that we have parents that are distant from their children due to perhaps work or other engagements. So how do they maintain presence in such instances? Akonji?
One thing you need to understand is the role of parents is indispensable. We cannot have absent parents of the parent entirely. There is a biological relationship here with the father or the mother that another person, like a social practitioner or a researcher, so, okay, for example, a child as early as 6 months understand the voice of the parent. A child has been interacting with the so parents who are very distant need to understand that the priority create a balance. The balance is, when am I leaving my child? When am I coming back to my child? Don't be deceived. Another person cannot adequately take care of your children. Just like Miss Wendy said, we can only advise. There is a biological and interlocking relationship that exists between the parent and the child that they need to exercise. Okay, for example, there are couples.
There have been some technical problem at its end there. So I would like Miss Ologe to take it up from there, and we'll bring him back to continue. Okay, it
Oh,
appears
oh,
that
oh,
it's trying to come back.
okay. All
Okay, just
right. So,
continue. Just continue.
there's something very interesting,
And we need
that
to
he
come
stated.
together
Okay, he's
to
back
come
here.
and achieve, because parenting is all about presence too.
Okay,
Parenting is not about what time am I going to
Mr.
dedicate
Akonji, Mr. Akonji,
matters
it,
a
ap-
lot.
it appears that a few
Mr. Mo,
almost a minute out of your time. Out of the time you were speaking, you got disconnected. We could not hear what you were saying then. I don't know whether you could repeat some of the things you've said earlier.
Okay, what I'm saying is this, that you are talking about a distant parent. How can we make up? You see, there are one of the things we should not endeavor to make up is parenting. Parenting is intentional. Parenting is about presence. Parenting is about knowing your child. You cannot nurture a child you don't know. Yes, we have social worker. Yes, we have early only can miss you because you are indispensable. There
It, we'll come back to him
is a
later, much later.
biological
Okay.
relationship the child and the parent share that cannot be replaced irrespective of the care and person. Can you hear me?
Continue, continue,
Can you hear me?
continue. We can hear you now. The network was
Hello,
fluctuating.
Mr. Mo?
The
Yeah.
net,
So what I was saying is that it's all about presence. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm fine. What I'm saying is this: parenting, distant parents need to understand that parenting is intentional. Parenting is not absent.
all right,
You
all right. Thank
cannot
you,
be an
thank you,
absent parent and expect to
thank you. So, Miss Ologe, how do parents ensure presence even when they are absent, when they are physically absent? How do they ensure that?
The last speaker said something very vital. He said it is one of those roles. I like the time that he used the word intentional. So intentional parenting is something that I hold dear to. So when he said it's not something that you can give out, you can delegate. Parenting roles cannot be delegated, unfortunately. You need to be there. You need to also parent someone that you know and understand. Then you also need to be there. When we say being there, we've also found out that there are people who are just there physically, but they're emotionally cut off. So part of what we are saying is that being there is not enough. You need to be there with content and connection. If you do not have content, if you do not have connection, your being there doesn't mean anything. So you need to be there and you need to ensure that you're coming there, you're connecting with your child with something. So present means that you are there connecting. It means that you are emotionally vested. It doesn't mean that you're present. Some people think that present means, oh, I go to work, I pay school fees, and then I just go my way. No. Present means your connectivity. How much connection do you have? That's what present really is about. So you need to be present. Apart from being present, you need knowledge. So you can be present and without being knowledgeable enough on what to do present, you will miss it. So presence is important, but knowledge is key. Modeling is another thing that I like the last speaker spoke about. Parenting is about modeling. It means that you have to be there to model what it is that you want. However, you cannot give what you don't have. So I usually say that if your parenting journey is not changing you, then there's something wrong with that journey that you are on. Let me say that again. If your parenting journey is not changing you, then there's something wrong with that journey that you are on. It means that if you're on this journey as a parent, parenting intentionally, you will find out that there are several things about you that needs to be changed. Now, it's not about perfection. I say that a tool for intentional parenting does not include perfection, but it's about intentionality, consciousness, being there, knowing that these are the things that is required for you to actually be able to carry on. So you need to understand that apart from the fact that you need to model, you can't model another thing and then expect your child to be some other thing. You need to begin to think, what are the things I want in my children that I need to also review in myself?
All right. Thank you so much for that wonderful insight given on the topic. I hope that by now Mr. Yonda's network is better, so I'll be able to hear you. Mr. Yonda,
Yes, sir. Hello, I'm with you.
Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes, we can. We
Good
can hear
afternoon.
you.
I've been enjoying the conversations. Miss Wendy. Okay. The questions I have here with me. Can you? Hello, Miss
We can
Wendy.
hear you. We can
We
hear
can,
you.
I
We
can
can
hear
Can
hear
you
you,
hear
you.
yes,
me?
loud and clear.
We can hear you.
All right. My question is, aside from the physical damage, what are other effects of physical abuse on children?
Okay, so when it comes to abuse,
You
there are too
know,
many effects,
uh,
which is which is one of the reasons why in down here in our client we try to claim that we were abused, yet we turned out okay. For me, I usually like to say to a lot of my audience or my clients, and I say it's not okay to just begin to argue. All we need to do is to look around us. When you do, you understand whether everything is okay or not. So the effect of abuse goes beyond just the physical damage, goes beyond just the things that that we see. It can actually go to as far as affecting your financial status. I was having a conversation in one of my courses. It's a course that we run in the academy. It's called Healing from Parenting Hurts. And I was teaching how, some of these hurts actually affect you to the point of not being able to manage your finances. I also shared on how it can affect you to the point of having a condition called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness says that you can't learn, you're helpless. All right, it's a psychological condition. So there are too many things that can happen to a child that have been abused, self-esteem issues, too many things that you can think about. So really, many a times we think that, oh, it's about the things that we can physically see, but it goes way beyond that. And if we can understand that abuse, can actually damage a child up to the time that a child becomes an adult. I usually say that, of course, the saying that hurting people hurt others. That's so true. You need to understand that for the things that happen to you as a child, even though you don't want to do that back to another person, it comes back to you, haunting you again and again, just because parenting characteristics are reflective. So they somehow reflect in your journey again, even as a parent.
all right. Thank you very much, man. Yes. From what you have actually said, can we now say who is most responsible for it? For should we say the parent, or probably the society, or even sometimes it might be the children themselves. So who should take responsible for it?
Oh, so I say that the nation, the people, is a product of the society. So whatever it is that we need to change, from the people that we raise. It's the people that we raise that make up the society. One of the reasons why I'm very passionate about parenting, for me, is the bedrock of every society. If we're able to change the people we're bringing up, now that's without being able, if without having to go through the process of knowledge. If we do get what is required, you will find out that we will raise better people. And since the society is a product of the people we raise, so what we see around is just the people we raise. So we can't say, oh no, it's the society. Who makes up the society? The people makes up the society. Who raises the people that make up the society? The parents, who should take responsibility. The moment you become a parent, you lose the liberty to actually push blame to another person. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that parents do not understand. Everything about responsibility for that child that you bear comes on your head. The truth is, the government has a responsibility also, to play when it comes to the having, raising the children, protecting the children. But unfortunately, we are in a society where that is not available. So the burden is actually on the parent. A lot of the burden is on the parent. In a very developed time, you will find out that the society, the government, is part of the process. It's part of the process of protecting the child, and then that helps the parent to be able to actually do a lot. But in our crime, you find out that it's just the parents. So the burden is on us. So I say that we actually have a lot of work to do, much more than any other crime that you can find out. Find out. For us to actually do something differently, then we need to stand up. We need to stop the argument and stand up and do what is required in raising better people for the society that we live in. Because the leaders that we're blaming today are product of a home, and those homes where people were raised in them. The parents failed. That's why our society is failing daily.
All right. So before I bring my colleague back, I would just like to ask you this question about those that are damaged. Are they repairable? You said something about those that are damaged. Is it possible that those that are already adults they're able to get some sort of reform and get better as whatever case it is?
Okay, so I say that the first place to start from is not learning. The first place we need to start from is on learning. There are a lot of things that we already do that needs to be unlearned.
This network issue is really a challenge everywhere. Miss Ologe, we can't hear you. Anyway, we'll be back shortly, hoping that we're able to bring them back. But before then, Mr. Mr. Yoda, is still there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you, sir.
All right.
I'm with,
So
I'm with you, sir.
from what they have both said so far, we see the need for we see the need for parents to be more responsible, and it shouldn't be limited to giving children money to spend on all sorts of things like that. We need to do more as parents in order to protect our children. Well, I would have loved to ask them further questions on still on in addition to child protection, but it appears that the network issue are taking them off. I can see that Miss Ologi is back now, so she will continue from where she stopped.
I think
Okay.
maybe
Madam,
you have to work in a while.
proceed, proceed, ma. So we've
Okay, so
already okay.
I was actually talking on, what we need to do with the adults, that we think that. So most of these adults we're talking about are the people who are now raising the children. So we need to actually start from there, which is why one of the things that we do in my academy is to reform parents. That's what we do. So we start from our focus is never on the children. Our focus should not be just on the children. Our focus should be on the adults, because the children are going to follow the models that they can see. And these models, how much right did they turn out? That's the question we need to ask constantly. These models that we have, what exactly are they doing differently that should make the children turn out differently?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Yoda. I would like to ask you further questions.
Yes, all right. My question goes thus. Now, since we understand that the society is even messed up already, due to some nonchalance and the likes. How can we save most of these children from the society, from the shackles of the society, in terms of violence, in terms of sexual violence and other peer group is also one of it. How can we save the society from this?
All right, one of the things that we say, how do we save the society is by educating the parents. Now, there's also the part of being able to also rescue the children while we're educating the parents. We have organizations that have gone heads on, to be able to educate the children, to be able to do a lot, for the children and rescue them. We have people who run boys initiatives We have people who run sexual abuse initiatives where the children actually are able to actually protect them. Because it's the very unfortunate thing is the moment that you have the person who is supposed to be your greatest protector begin to abuse you. I think that's the biggest turn down, as regards this particular circle of abuse that we talk about, because a lot of abuse happens in the home by people that the children trust. So it's actually quite a difficult one, but I applaud a lot of the organizations who are standing up. We are focusing on trying to rebuild the parents, which is something that we have been doing for a while now, and we are also encouraging the people who come up and they want to do stuff for the children. That's the only way. We need to stand up to take, to be able to help, our society ourselves, really.
Okay, thank you.
All
So,
right.
what's the way forward
Thank you.
in
Let's go back to
parenting
the
for
issue
the
of child or children protection. Now, the issue of trust. Sometimes some children they find it difficult to even whatever they have in mind to even relate it with their parents due to probably the parent doesn't have the time or does have some other things. So, what do you think in this aspect? What do you think the children most especially can do to solve most of this? Because sometimes it leads to depression and the likes that makes the child even go out and confine with the friends and the likes. So, what do you think we can solve this issue of trust between the parents and the child or the children, as case may be?
Unfortunately, there's really nothing the children can do. It is the parents. That's why, like I said, our focus is on the parents. We need to stand up and make people more aware of what it is that they can do. We need to stand up and make parents more aware. For instance, that's one of the reasons why we run the community, the intentional parents on Facebook, because we want more awareness on what should be done. Because a child who cannot confide in their parent, that parent has lost authority. Authority is not force and control. Authority is respect and trust. If your child cannot trust you, you have lost authority. That means that authority has been given to another person. Your child needs to be able to trust you, and also you should be able to also respect you. It has nothing to do with force. The moment you begin to do force, you create a bridge between you and your child. The education is for the parents to be able to understand better what they need to do, because a child is always going to be a child. Yes, there are lots and lots of programs that run out for the children, but because the parents are the ones who actually have the wherewithal to be able to do stuff for the children, the onus rests on the parents to actually be able to do something differently.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. From your organization, what are your plans you have on society in terms of campaign that will actually sensitize the public on this issue of child protection and parenting?
One of the things we do is that we offer free conferences. As much as we want to do so much more, but that's to the extent that we are able to do in the now. We offer free conference. For instance, we're doing a conference for fathers for the Father's Day, which is on the June 21st. That conference is going to last from 17th to 21st. Where we've been pushing out, telling people, about the conference. One of the things that we have seen is to be able to change the mindset of our people, which is one of the things that we do by education. That's one of the things that we do. We offer these conferences to be able to change narrative. We offer courses, paid courses, where we are also telling people, teaching people what exactly they need to do. And we've made tremendous progress. We've had thousands of people pass through the academy. We also have quite a number of people in our community, the Intentional Parents community on Facebook. And people have actually been able to transform on their journey in the past 2 years joining that community. What can we do? We can all put our hands together to begin to, push people towards some of these programs that are available. For instance, we're talking parenting today. We should have the room filled up, but no, we don't. because we're not creating a lot of awareness as regards, this learning, this part of learning. And this is the most important part of, raising any adult in our lifetime. So I will also crave the indulgence of everybody who is listening. Let's push out the message and also begin to get people to begin to listen and begin to also change the narrative that we cannot raise children by assumptions.
All right. Thank you very much, ma. We appreciate your what you have given us this afternoon. Now, going back to, we can't reversize, or we can't do without talking about the government, the role of government also in these children parenting, because most times we still go back to the government, even as parents, even as society, even as organizations, we must still go back to government. So, what is your advice, or what do you think the government is actually doing in terms of this, in curbing some of these challenges we are facing in society?
Unfortunately, I can't even say that our government is doing anything. Unfortunately, I might be the wrong person to be, responding to this, because I have my own share of experience on what the government should be doing that they are not doing. There's a lot. I really wish that we have a government, as regards child protection. Unfortunately, we do not. Nothing from that angle actually works to protect the child. How are we going to go forward from here? Well, as a civil society people and part, all we are doing is to create more and more awareness every day. And I think that's the much that we are doing and we can do. However, we can begin to ask for accountability from the government, which is also very important. We need to begin to, hold the government accountable for whatever it is that is happening. We're not holding the government accountable enough. So the government is doing whatever it is that they deem fit that is required. The truth is, you can't fully protect a child without the government of the state being involved. The state will have to be actively involved in child protection for you to actually say that child protection is adequate. Very important. And I am praying that, at some point, we're going to be able to push this narrative for our government to actually really understand that there is no child protection without the involvement of the government.
Madam, you were saying something about governments should be able to understand something. What's that? The network got there was a little disconnection at some point while you were speaking about what government needs to do.
Okay, so the disconnection from my part, I think you were the one that
Yes,
got
yes.
disconnected, because I think the audience
From
were
your end,
following.
from your end,
Oh, from my
from
end.
your end.
Okay, okay. What I said is that the government will need to, stand up to also do something about the child protection system. We do not have any. That's the truth. And we need to actually push the narrative for them to understand. And I said that we need to also hold the government accountable. One of the problems is that we don't even know what to hold the government accountable for. There are things that we need to look at and say these are the things that the government will need to do. And I said that there is no child protection without the government of the state. The state will need to get involved. For us to really say that child protection is complete, then we need to involve the state to actually be able to say, yes, we have achieved something.
I'll bring in Mr. I'll bring in Mr. Akonji back now. Mr. Akonji has
Yeah,
been
yeah,
away for some minutes due to network challenge at
yeah.
his end. The general problem over Nigeria. I've equally had my own fair share of that this afternoon. So, Mr. Akonji,
Yeah.
so I would like you to look into this. What can, you are an academic, as an academic, what can academics do to ensure that we have more responsible parents, we have more parents that care, and how can they assist government in achieving all this?
Yeah, unfortunately, many academics think that it is about writing papers, it's about doing researches, among other things. For my own end, I think that I have a platform, and just like you, that we educate parents and we make them understand that, hey, come, parenting goes beyond this. As a person, I am quite passionate about parenting. So on my own, I take courses on parenting. I take them out on excursion on the effect of not being a good parent. So from our own end, we have reviewed our curriculum on how we can incorporate courses that talks about parents, and we make them understand that, see, there is a clear distinction between the parent of the past and parent of the present. So in our own end, we are trying our best possible to always ensure that we teach parents practitioners when they come. We have diploma programs, both advanced and preliminary. We have courses entrenched in our courses. So from my own end, we are writing papers on parenting, we're engaging parents, and we are also advocating and offering consultancy for people who are advocating parenting like this. On the part of the government, you see, I love the passion of Mrs. Wendy. I love her passion so much. But I think that it is unfair entirely to say that the government is not doing anything. We can actually say that they are suffering from paucity of information, and perhaps they have diverted their own attention from something else. Government, to an extent, at least in their own view, they think that when they actually sentence somebody who raped a child to life imprisonment, they feel that they have done enough. But we need to make them understand that, see, rape is an aspect of child protection. We need to also understand that children are on the street. What are happening to their parents? Why are we having parents give a children to them on the street? We have out of school children. Nigeria as a country contributes to, we have the largest number of out of children in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, and we also contribute profusely in the world. So government should look into this and understand that, see, we cannot continue to have childbirth where parents will not be responsible. So from our own case, we are also advocating and we are advising the government. We have sent papers, we have consulted for government. We have also had roundtable meeting with the Ministry of Sport, trying to make them understand that, see, what you are doing is not sufficient. Finally, there was a time the last government in Lagos State organized a leakage center. Leakage center is meant for them to have young children, elementary children come to school. So, but unfortunately, they could not sustain it. So, just like we have said, we are doing our own. We have diploma programs that you can enroll as parent. We now have wide range of courses. We are also in collaboration with organizations that talk about children within our own vicinity. As far as the University of Lagos is concerned, we are in collaboration with CDC. We're in collaboration with Modupeko, and we are also in collaboration with parents across that could come, and we have something we call PACT, parent incorporation activities, where parents could come and ask. Finally, I, as a person, in my home case, I have a course I take. It is called parental community collaboration. So what I did is that I asked my students to invite their parents, and it was funny to them. But I asked them that the practical class they are going to do, that each student must come with a parent. We are going to have a roundtable discussion, evaluate their knowledge, and also tell them more. So I think we are doing little, and hopefully the little we are doing is going to manifest to something great in the future. Mr. Amoro, can you hear me? Mr. Amoro, I think Mr. Amoro is off. Miss Wendy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. I guess they are
So
off.
yeah, I think they are off. Okay, that's fine. Okay, while we are waiting for them, I appreciate your passion, and I have been a fan. I've been following for a number of time, and I hope that we can actually work together to achieve a desirable environment where parents will be more responsive. And I also need to understand that maybe in some of your recent work, we should endeavor to tell parents that, see, a parent before COVID-19 will be different to a parent after COVID-19, because it has been able to expose the ineffectiveness of some parents. This COVID-19 has been an eye opener for me as a person, understanding that some parents are not entirely involved in parenting. Imagine spending 9 weeks with your child at home, and it's already frustrating because you don't even understand different strategies in helping children. So maybe I will advise that we can work, or you can actually work on your own part, because I understand your passion. Like, oh, okay, who is going to be a surviving parent in the post COVID-19 era? So, Mr. Amo, we lost you.
Before you were here, when
I'm
you were
back.
not
Sorry,
here,
brother.
I had said something about the government,
Okay.
and which I like that you brought up things, to put up as lots of counter. Interestingly, I've worked for the US government for years. So I can tell you for sure that the Nigerian government has a lot of lapses, but
Sure.
that's not the conversation for today. All right. I work for the USAID. So I can tell you that there are a lot of things that we do that is being sponsored by the people, that are out there. What I'm talking about is what originally is our government doing about some of those things. And until they get fully involved in it, then we're going to continue to struggle on it. And I said that there's no child protection. I'm going to state it again. There's no child protection completely without the state. The state must be involved. No matter what the parents do and the state is not involved, I tell you, there's going to be lots of struggle. There's lots of struggle on the end of the parent, and it's very, very important to note that the government of the day, we need to get involved now. However, and I also stated that that's not an excuse. What it means is that parents of, in our client, we need to work harder than the other parents who has the government of the day involved. So it means that our work is even more if you're living in this client. So I also want to talk about the post-COVID-19 parent and what you talked about parenting in COVID-19. When you were away, you said something about presence. And I said something when you left, that presence is not all that matters. Presence is important, but a lot of people are present without actually being present. I said that a parent must be present with content and connection. If a parent is not present with content, you can actually be physically present and be emotionally disconnected, which is one of the things that we have battled with over the years, where parents are saying, but I'm there. I'm always there. You can be there and never, ever be there. So we're no longer preaching, just stay present. We're preaching, stay present and stay connected with content. How do you get content? You need knowledge. Without knowledge, you won't be able to have content to actually present in the present days. And yes, during the lockdown, it was very obvious that a lot of parents were not just disconnected, were not just, not being present. There was so much, happening in the homes that the parents were totally unaware of. I was talking to a client of mine. I got overworked during the lockdown. While people were resting and sleeping in their homes, my work tripled, at more than usual, because parents were frustrated. They didn't know what to do. So there's a lot of gap, really. There's a lot of gap. And whether parenting post-COVID-19 will be the same, before COVID-19 definitely it's not going to be the same. I have even started to shout before COVID-19 that parenting culture have changed. And we're being stuck in the other culture that we have seen over the years. So the culture has changed. We are raising people who are playing in the global market. We want to raise them like we were raised in our streets in Kaduna, or our streets in Abuja, our streets in Owerri, our streets in Lagos. That's not going to work anymore because the tides have changed. This child changed even before now. When I wrote my book in 2018, Connect to Correct, I said that the internet is a game changer in parenting the 21st century child. So COVID-19 or not, this game has changed. The problem is that our people haven't even been able to come to terms that this game has changed on us. We need to actually stand up to do more. So yes, I agree with you, there's more to do. And post-COVID-19, whatever it is that we want to term it, I would prefer to say raising the 21st century child. We are now raising Generation Alpha. We have moved from raising Gen Zs to raising Generation Alpha. Do we even know who the Generation Alpha people are? Which is even the question that, that is always on my mind. So the first thing we need to do is to understand culture and become culturally intelligent in the system, really. That's actually one of the things that will help us to parent better.
Okay, Mr. Amo, let me just say this in Afro.
Thank you so much. You too. I would just like you to give your closing remarks. We have another program that we need to bring in, which will involve some children, but some of them are already left. I'm trying to get them back. But I would like us to end this conversation now on this note. Give us your closing remarks, starting with Mr. Akonji.
Okay, parenting is not static. Parenting is dynamic, and over time, the approach you used last month might be different from what you're going to use next month, because of information, because of encounter, because of exposure, and because of the people you are consulting. But one thing we need to understand is even parents have different capabilities, and we also need to take it easy on them. Finally, I think in the post COVID-19 era, parents should be careful of cybersecurity of their children, and hopefully they should understand that as much as ever, we need to stay connected with our children, we need to be their friends, and we need to be their confidant. Thank you for having me so much.
All right. Thank you so much. And Miss Ologe, thank you very much. So I would like you to give us your own closing remarks too.
Okay, simply stating, authority is not force and control. Authority is respect and trust. The moment your child cannot trust you, you have lost authority. The moment your child cannot respect you, you have lost authority. No matter how forceful you are, no matter how controlling you are, that's what authority means. And if you want to keep authority, then you need to change your game to begin to connect better with your children. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Miss Ologe, and thank you, Mr. Akanji. We appreciate your contributions throughout the discussion, and we hope that it will assist a lot of parents out there in the coming years. So thank you so much for joining us. So I will be leaving, we'll be moving away from both Mr. Akonji and Miss Ologe now to the children of today, the children we are celebrating today. So you know that today is Children's Day, and on that note, we know that all over the world, in many parts of the world, this day is being marked as Children's Day, as earlier said, and and for these children, it means a lot to them. So I will be bringing in three children. Actually, there were four or five earlier. There were about five earlier that were with us. We're bringing them in now to join us as we move on now. In brief, to just share with us their experiences and so over the course of time. First, I'll be introducing Oladeji Gold. Oladeji Gold, hello,
Hello.
hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay,
Yes.
welcome. Oladeji Gold attends. So just introduce yourself. Let's do it that way. Introduce yourself. What's your name?
My name is Oladeji Gold. The name of my school is Success Foundation. I am in Basic 3. I am 8 years old.
Thank you. We'll bring you back later. I'll ask you other questions later. So we also have with us Mo Mochokwe Folua. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Shope Awudeni. I'm in year 9. Yes, and I go to Emron High School.
We also have with us Shore Fumi. Shore Fumi, please position your phone well or your device. We can't hear you. Hello, Shore Fumi. Introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is
Hello,
Shorefumi
introduce yourself.
Awobemi. I'm in year 10 in Emerald High School.
All right. So another of us that is here is Abdul Wahab Balogun. Please position your phone well. We can't so we see your face clearer. Better. Thank you. So Abdul Wahab.
My name is Balogun Abdulwahab. I'm in SS1. I'm in International School, University of Lagos, and I'm 13 years of age.
Thank you. So I will start with Gold. Gold. What do you understand by COVID-19? Gold. It appears that we've lost connection with Gold. I can't. The scene at the end has been static since. So, Moshokwe, Shokwe. Moshokwe Folua.
Yes, sir.
Will you care to respond to that? Can you respond to that?
Yes.
What's
Can you
your
respond
understanding of
to
COVID-19? What's your understanding of COVID-19
what is
and it
my?
affects children?
Oh,
Understanding of
is.
COVID-19
I understand that it
as it affects
is
children.
a. I understand that it is a disease that came about and is fast and is quickly spread, and that we need to self-isolate and social and practice social distancing for it to stop spreading, and that the symptoms of COVID-19 are fever and headache, um inability to breathe, and yes, and yes. And that is why we're in this quarantine period.
Okay. So Abdul Wahab,
Sir?
you're not there. Abdul Wahab, position the phone better. Abdul Wahab, how has this
Sir?
how has the situation affected you as a student and as a child?
Well, to say it has caused serious damages, it has caused loss of lives, loss of job opportunities, loss of manpower and resources. And to me as a child, well, it has really cost me going to school, talking to others, and some
We
other
can't hear
meaningful
you.
things.
Speak louder, please.
Me as a child, student, it has cost me learning opportunities and other meaningful resources like going to school, and also it can also be manageable for me as a child.
Okay. Sure, for me. For me. How
Yes,
has the
sir.
COVID-19 lockdown affected you?
Since you child,
It has affected me in the way that we cannot go to school and we have to be doing online classes, which is a bit harder because you cannot act just the way you would normally act them in
You need to
school,
speak louder.
and you
You need
can't
to speak
interact
louder.
with your friends and family. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Move on. Speak on. Speak on. Continue.
Yes, sir. Said you cannot interact with your friends and family. You can't play outside as you used to. You can't talk to your neighbors. You have to like keep it safe. That's how it has affected me.
Okay. So, mo Shokpe Folua. Mo Shokpe. Shokpe.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I would like you to come in now. So, what do you want to become in future?
I'd like to become an engineer and a musician.
Okay. Let's take the engineering part. You want to become an engineer. If you were already an engineer
Yes.
at this time, how would you have done? What would you have done at this time as an engineer? In this situation, what would you have done?
I don't really know because I've not started learning anything about it. But like during career day in my school, parents come to talk about their jobs, and from what I've learned, I find engineering very interesting, and I just feel like that's what I want to be. And I love music, so I want to be a musician.
So, as a musician, how have you been utilizing your skills during this period? As a
I've not
prospective musician,
really
right?
been doing a lot, but I've been learning a lot of songs. Like I learn how to play a lot of songs on the piano.
Okay. So, Abdul Wahab, it appears that he has gone elsewhere. He's not positioned well to join us in this conversation. Sit right, sit right. You have just been shaking around since. Sit in one place and hold your phone well. So, Abdul Wahab, We can't see you here. Anyway, Abdul Wahab, can you hear me? The network is still a problem over there. I think it's. I can see that gold is back. Gold. I'll bring in. I'll bring in gold now. Gold.
Sir?
The network went off the other time. You were saying something about yourself, but we've heard that already. What do you want to become in future?
Teacher.
Teacher. That's great. So, as a prospective teacher, what do you think government or the society should do for you before you become a teacher? What should government put in place for ahead of your aspiration of becoming a teacher in future?
School. Big school. I want them to open school. I want them to open school.
So you are tired of staying at home?
Yes.
All right. So I was asking you what 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 are the things that are lacking in schools today that you think that you think government should put in place in schools?
Sir?
What are the things that are the facilities that you would have loved that are put in place for schools to work well?
Mommy and daddy lock us home because she will not let us to play out because of this coronavirus. 2. Some children will have forget what their teacher has taught them because they did not go to school. 3. No food at home. Mommy and daddy don't have money. No money to eat because of this coronavirus. 4. Some children are scared to go outside. They're scared to go to church, mosques, anywhere. 5. Mommy and daddy always force us to wash our hands and sanitize it. 6. Wear face mask. Let's face mask and lose your elbow and cough or sneeze.
Okay, thank you. You listed 6 points in which coronavirus affects you as a child. That's good. So, what is the way forward? I want Abdul Wahab, you need to sit right. Sit right. Stop shaking or stop shaking. Hair better now. So, how are you preparing for resumption now? So, all of you will answer that question, starting with Abdul Wahab. How are you preparing for resumption?
In my school, we're actually doing online schooling, so we're not actually missing much. But the only problem is the practical part of the explanation. So when we resume, we'll be able to cover up what we've lost. Well, we have not lost much. So we've actually recovered time. We've not waste the time. We've not waste too much time on holidays. I'll be able to recover enough for resumption. So we're going to be practically and
Okay. Okay. So Shore Fumi has been here all along. Position your
Yes.
position better now. So Shore, what's your how are you preparing for resumption?
What is my
How are you preparing for resumption?
oh in Emerald we have been doing online schools and they send us homework and we do classwork. We read about the topics that we're doing. We have the scheme of work, so anything that we don't cover, we can continue it. We can do it on our own.
You would now answer the question. How are you preparing for resumption?
I'm learning at home so that when I
You're
get
not
to
you
school,
mean okay.
I won't have missed much.
Okay. All
Mem-
right. So
Which
that's
is just a lot.
understood. That's understood. I can't see Mushopa here since the camera is off. Ahmed, are you still there?
Yes, I'm
Ahmed,
still with you.
I don't know why you have any question for any of them for them.
All right. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Now, tell me, okay, so what are the things have you gained during this coronavirus lockdown? Like
What
what
have
and
you
what
gained?
have you learned during this time, or have you been playing around? What are the things you have learned so far?
Who's he asking?
Okay, we will start with you.
Can you do you get the question? Did you get the question? Like what are the things you have learned so far while you are what are the things you have been learning? Are you
Short
there?
for me. Speak now.
Oh, I've
That off.
learned in my schoolwork, I've learned the topics that we have been doing. And about personally, I've learned that you cannot prepare for things, that life will not always go the way that you've planned. So you have to have a backup plan for everything.
All
Does that
right.
answer the question?
So
What am I?
what are your plans now when you get to school? Your plans when you get to school.
To continue from where we stopped at home and do better, stand out.
So amongst your
Okay.
colleagues now, what do you okay, let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. Between studying in school and studying at home, which one did you prefer most?
So I want Mushapa to answer that question.
Did you get the question?
Um, Between studying at home and in school, in school,
Okay.
in school,
Yeah.
yes, I prefer studying in school. Wait, am I meant
Do you
to
have
answer
any
why?
reason? Yes. Like
Okay,
why
because
you think you prefer school than staying at home learning?
I prefer school because first of all, it's not every time you can access the online classes at home, and it's not. I don't feel like it's very
Okay.
effective, but it may not be effective for me because I'm supposed to write junior NECO exams, but all we've been doing is revision,
Okay.
and I just feel like if I was in school, I would do a lot more. But I still try to go on the internet and look at things that will able to be benefiting.
Okay. That was good. Now so while you are staying at home now, Have you been meeting with your friends? Probably you lessons, then you do some other stuff or practical
Yes,
assignment. Have you been doing that?
yes, I
Okay,
have.
so like what have you been doing? Okay,
Wait,
so
wait,
like
what do
what
you
and
mean?
what?
Like, okay, do you mean like things that I've learned to do since I've been at home?
Exactly.
Okay, since I've been home, I've been at home, I've learned to bake, cook. I've learned some topics that I've really understood some topics that I didn't understand before because I took more time to understand it. I've like tried to be more innovative and thought of um solutions, try to think of solutions to human problems. And I've learned that
Okay,
life is precious and people are just dying anyhow and life is precious and we should start living better lives and start getting closer to our families and start keeping and start working out and eating healthy so we can live long and in good health. And we should also try to rest well
okay,
and learn new skills and even new languages.
all right. So now today is Children's Day. What are the things have you just today alone? What have you gained today? Or probably, last year you celebrated the Children's Day probably in school. Maybe you went to stadium to march past and the likes. So today, what makes it different from this year's celebration to last year's celebration?
Last year on Children's Day in my school, we just had a fashion show. But today, I've learned how to play 3 songs on the piano, and I've been sharing it to my friends, and I've been telling them that they should also learn new skills that we don't know how long we're going to be at home for, and they should just try to make this useful and learn something new and all. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So let me ask, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Cool.
Okay, Abdulwahab. Is that Abdulwahab? Is that Abdulwahab?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. What have you gained so far while you're at home now? What have you gained? What have you learned while you're at home during this lockdown?
Learned as in educationally or how?
What do you say? You can you can
Educationally.
you can speak louder so that we hear you.
Learned as in educationally or
Abdulwahab.
how? Sir?
Yes, educationally, in terms of how anything you have learned, in terms of education, in terms of learning, have you been, this time around, have you learned anything online, maybe through radio or maybe any conferencing or even any media, any platform, online platform? Have you been learning online?
Well, in my school we have online. It's just,
Okay, from your school, right?
in my school we have online
Okay,
classes. Like we are going to school. We
okay.
have not. The only problem is
So do you enjoy it?
it's not.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me? Abu,
Sir,
okay. So did you get my question?
I did.
Okay. So let's take for instance now the coronavirus. What do you expect that you are likely to resume? Do you have any expectation?
I don't have any expectation, but anytime we're ready
But
to
are you
resume,
willing?
anytime we're ready to resume, I'm ready.
You are ready to resume. Okay, that's good. So learning at home, is it convenient for you?
I can't complain because learning at home.
Abraham, you can speak loud so that we'll hear you. You can speak loud.
I said I can't
Abraham,
complain,
can you
sir.
hear me?
I can't.
Can you hear me?
I can
You
hear
can.
you.
Okay. So, okay, okay. Thank you. So, do you have any of your brothers or your sisters sometimes when you have issue with your assignment, do you give them or you just try to work it out on your own?
I try to work it out on my own.
Okay, I think others who are online now. Let me ask you, Abraham. Wait, let me
Sir?
ask others too the question. Others, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm talking to you. You can wait. Let me ask others to this question. Hello.
I'm going to charge you.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Okay, I think you should go to another person. If the other
Can you
person
hear me?
cannot, if the other person cannot hear you, move to another person. And
Okay.
Yes,
Shore
sir.
Okay.
Fumi,
Let's
Let me
see.
ask you this question. You know, okay, okay.
Shore Fumi will
So
answer the question.
what learned so far at now at home?
What
While
have
you are at
I?
home, I know you must have learned a lot. But what have you learned at home so far?
I've tried
You might
to
have
get
learned a lot, I
ahead.
guess. Maybe you have.
Answer the question.
Try to continue.
Continue.
I've learned how to make hair. I've learned different foods, and I'll try to get ahead of my scheme of work so learning can be easier when we get back to school.
All right. That's all you have
What
to
I've
say.
learned.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't know whether Mr. That's another question to ask. Okay, we have Oladeji Gold. She has come. She's back. I want her to tell us what she has learned too. What have you learned during this period, Oladeji?
I've learned so much things in TV, and I've learned my Bible.
Okay.
Okay.
I learned Psalm 119, 1 to 50.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. You told us what you've learned, and we wish you all success in your future endeavor. The one that wants to become an engineer, the one that wants to become a teacher, the one that wants to become a doctor, and whatever other profession, musician, and every other thing you think of. Wish you all the best at that. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we wish you happy Children's Day from all of us here we are saying bye. Thank you.